Is Davabad ready for self-rule? Can Manaisa get any worse? And what is Chakraborty doing to us? Welcome to Mythic Mere, a podcast for fans of myth and fantasy who want to live magical, fulfilling lives. I'm your host, Mary C. Kehoe.
I'm your co-host, Carolina Carter.
And we are talking about the middle of Empire of Gold. We have not gotten quite to the end. Yes, now I'm a little ahead of you, so it's just getting really intense. Let me just tell you that right now.
Yeah. But I've read the series before, so she's going to spoil it a little for me, but it's not really a spoil for me. So if you're caught up to where we are, it's not a spoil for you either.
A little past 50% of the book is where we are at. Maybe
chapter 31-ish.
Yeah. All right, Carolina, first thoughts.
Well, my first thoughts, because it's actually kind of a nice little first half until you get to the end of the first half, is that this is the book where everybody's growing up. Nahri is choosing this role of leadership for herself. She's not being forced into being a Nahid. She's not being forced into being a healer. She had an opportunity to stay in Cairo and live her life, and she has now taken agency and is choosing this path and is choosing to save Davabad. We've seen a huge arc where instead of going the way of Dara and dogmatism, he is choosing compassion and understanding, and even has a beautiful moment with Jamshed where he apologizes for being blasphemous towards his religion and looking down on him and saying that his people were right to be wary of him. And that's a really lovely moment where you just see that, again, Ali has chosen time and time again to, I want to say humanize himself, not in the way of like not being a deva, but to be in touch with his heart and to be in touch with his growth. And Dara is growing, is thinking, is changing, but at a glacial speed for a 1,400-year-old being. He's like, wait, am I the bad guy? Yes. Yes, you are. But not really.
Yes, another shining moment for our beloved high priest when he finds Dara cleaning in the temple and he says, I thought whoever was cleaning in the dead of night might be in need of counsel. And he talks to him, and finally Dara speaks to someone about this dawning dread and realization that he's done terrible things because terrible people asked him to, and it wasn't actually for a good cause, and even if it had been, it wasn't the right thing to do.
Right. And how the priest says, Dara thinks it's a punishment that he's been brought back, and the priest says, you've been gifted this time, make it up to them, make it up to the people you've hurt.
Right. Because it's so much easier to think like Dara is doing that I'll just go into eternal punishment. Like I'll just be punished. That's all that's left to me. And which that kind of thinking leads to, if he thought he'd stay dead, he probably would end his life at that point.
Yes.
And the high priest is giving him a very gentle but honest perception shift into, he points out, even in the depths of, even in your realization of what you've done to others, you're still just thinking about yourself.
Which is a good point.
And he says, I, you're still just talking about I. What will your punishment, eternal punishment, do for these people?
Which brings me...
It takes a lot... I was just going to say, it takes a lot more courage to stay and face the people you've hurt and try to make it better and try to help them even when they think you're a monster.
Yes. I think it takes a lot more bravery. It does bring me to my next question, because we do finally find out how Manaisa brought Dara back to life. I have so many questions about this chapter. One, I don't completely understand what she did, except for that it took sacrificing. Okay, so she says that that they needed to sacrifice a Nahid to bring him back, that the blood of a Nahid could bring back people from the dead.
Mm-hmm.
The story she tells is that Rustum wanted to do this to her baby, Nahri, and so they fought and he died, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So we, as the reader, know that she wanted to use Nahri as probably sacrifice, and Rustum probably tried to stop her. And that we at this point, me, believe that Nahri is Rustum's child, not Manaiza's.
Right. Yeah, I think that we know that Nari is not her daughter, but her niece. And I don't know if she knew about Nari or if he was keeping Nari a secret. Either way, I think she killed him in order to resurrect Dara back.
But when did she bring Dara back is my question, because he doesn't come until Nari sings for him, which would be 20 years after Rustum was killed.
Right, but remember he was brought back and oh, what's his name? Who dies in the first one? The air being, the bird-like
Oh,
being
the Perry?
helps him.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Perry. What's his name?
Oh,
Anyway, so
oh,
he takes him and like helps him come back to life pretty much and is traveling with him and stuff.
oh. Right.
Right.
I had forgotten that. Sorry. It's a long
Yeah, yeah.
series.
Yeah. Lots has happened since that death.
Fateful day. I know. Boy, did we not know what we were
Yeah.
in for. I've been trying to decide, like, is Manaiza just bad or is she insane?
Or both.
Or both.
I mean, I feel like if you get to a certain level of bad, you have to be insane.
Right, because I'm like, she certainly, seemingly through the flashbacks, has always had this streak that it almost seems like maybe she tried to hide. Even Hotset talking about meeting her in the infirmary, where I did feel like a pang of empathy for her, where Hotset saying it was so obvious that she and Rustum were prisoners that it gave her the creeps. So you do feel, but then also just saying that she could see in Manaiza's eyes, like how she just felt nothing but disdain, that she knew she was basically a goddess and couldn't believe she had been put in this situation, and that given the chance would just kill everyone.
Yeah. And the fact that her brother is there with her in that scene and throughout their lives, you see how she could have made a different choice. When the freed slaves, when Razu is talking to Dara about how it was the brother that had freed her, and she said the brother didn't trust his sister. The circumstances don't have to break you. They don't have to
Right.
turn you into a bad, insane person. The
Right.
brother was still a kind healer,
Yes.
and Nari, who granted she didn't grow up in prison, but we've talked about that before. She's choosing the good side
Yeah, and
continuously.
arguably in her own prison of poverty in the human world and completely alone. She could have she could have
Hmm.
gone evil.
Yeah, and going back to the insane or evil, I think it's a very good point that when you start to divorce yourself of empathy, you do go insane. When you
Right.
put, your power above everything else and that anything is acceptable that gets you to that goal, whatever it is, really, as soon as anything at all becomes acceptable to get to whatever your goal is, even if it's a good goal, you've lost your moorings.
Hmm.
So yeah, she's just gotten worse. Starts with her brother and then it just gets so much worse. Well,
Right,
I don't
and
know if you could get worse than murdering your brother, but it
yeah.
gets exponentially more people, I should say.
Yeah, well, and that there's just the terrifying aspect of there's just no reasoning with her. Like, it's obvious at this
Mm-mm.
point, Dara has tried. He has tried to be a voice of reason in her ear, and they and she fired him for that. The priest
Mm-hmm.
tried to be a voice
Mm-hmm.
of reason in her ear, also fired. Luckily, both not dead, because that's kind of seems to be her move.
And it seems like I mean, when I heard her say, I want him gotten rid of, I think she wouldn't mind if, like, she kind of wanted them to kill him, but they hadn't yet.
Yeah,
It was
you know
like
what
they
that
were just trying
reminded
to
me
get him
of?
to retire instead.
Right.
Hmm.
Isn't it Murder in the Cathedral? Where the king says about Thomas More, he's like,
Yes,
"I wish
I thought
somebody
of
would
that
kill that
too.
that guy," and
It's
then they go
Thomas
kill him.
Becket.
Thomas Becket,
Yeah, yeah,
sorry.
Thomas a Becket. Yeah, yeah. No, it's okay.
Becket.
Um, yeah, someone rid me of that troublesome priest. That's
Right,
what he
and then he's
says.
dead, and he's
And
like,
then they did.
this was like the reverse of that, where I think she would have
Yeah.
preferred that
She
happen.
would have wanted that. Yeah, exactly. I thought that too.
This is a reverse murder in
Thomas
the
More
cathedral.
also was killed. Yeah, Thomas More was also killed by his king, but that was entirely on purpose.
I am really enjoying, and I know this gets tricky, but I'm enjoying watching Muntadir shine because I feel like up until this point we've really seen Ollie shine and not really like, what is the point of you? And now we're realizing like he is a weapon in his own way. It's brilliant. And um so I've been enjoying that, but kind of on the edge of my seat being like, please don't die.
In the second book, when he was flipping out about Ollie coming back, he was getting paranoid and losing his center. And then now, when he's actually surrounded by enemies, he is on his, like, he's on.
Right.
He's making a plan and executing it, and almost just, he's alone, surrounded by enemies, convinces them to talk to the traders who he knows are his allies, and then from there, he almost succeeds with a coup. And you realize how much of in book 2 it was because he loved his brother, that it was setting, like, he was spinning out because he saw his brother as his enemy, and yet he couldn't do his usual war
Right.
tactics because it's his brother, so he doesn't want to, so he's just
Mm-hmm.
losing it.
It becomes clearer when he says, I'm done protecting you, that it's like not only has he not been attacking you, he's been using all his charm and all his skill to protect you. So even just removing that protection is going to really mess up your life. And something we haven't really spoken about at all yet, but that obviously Ali and Nahri falling in love.
Yeah,
There is a love story here, folks.
there is a love story, and it's a beautiful one that doesn't rush the friendship stage, which I very much appreciate.
Yeah. It's what I've always wanted, which is just thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of yearning. That's all I want.
That's all I want. But also companionship and learning to trust each other and just learning to get along. but
Yes.
I mean, really, they do become very close friends and realize how important they are to. I mean, Ollie knows he's in love with her, but she doesn't let herself see it for a long time. So for a long time, she does, like, just realizing that he is important to her at all is huge for her to accept.
I think our Discworld Delight from last week was quite popular. All guesses are Masquerade. Some embellishing to say, my first Discworld book, always love Masquerade. Someone says, Masquerade, love Nanny Og.
Ah, well, they are entirely correct. It is Masquerade. That is a very fun book. If you haven't read it, it's a spoof on Phantom of the Opera, and it's delightful. All right, so for this week, here we go. Was it valuable? Priceless, especially now that it has been destroyed. Ah, it contained information of value, possibly involving the color dark green. Will you tell me? I could tell you, Havelock smiled again, but then I would have to find someone to pay me to kill you. Then don't tell me. but I do think dog botherer is an unpleasant nickname. And that's it.
That's a good one.
What is that from?
What is it from? What is it from?
I almost texted you, except it was too late in the night when Dara was asking Meniza when they find the tomb of all the Nahids, which were not
Mm-hmm.
burned as they should have been. And he
Mm-hmm.
finds his
Relic.
thank you relic, and
Mm-hmm.
then he asks her what that scene you're talking about, where he asks her how she brought him back, and she's just lying to him and turning her brother into the bad guy. And we already knew she's terrible. We already suspected that she'd killed her brother, but just hearing her lie about it and turn him into this baby killer, you're just like,
Right. And
it's
listening
so
to
horrible.
Dara's thoughts, being like, it did not match what he had heard about the gentle Nahid Rustum,
Right.
who was a healer.
Yeah.
And that's like we're back to the identity thing of like, at her core, Nahri is a healer. I think like her dad.
Mm-hmm.
And at her core, Meniza is a killer.
Mm-hmm.
And we have new characters that we haven't talked about yet either, because, like we said, everything suddenly moved very fast. People went all over the place. But one character that I want to talk about that we haven't yet is Faiza.
Yes.
Couple things about Faiza. A, she's brilliant. B, she is the first person, I believe, I might be wrong, she might have told Ali, but the first kind of outside person that Nahri admits that she is indeed Shafit to.
Mm-hmm.
That in this journey of identity, that Faiza is her first confidant, and I think that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Even if Faiza just sort of pisses her off into telling her.
They have a self-aware moment there too, because she says, "What are you doing telling me? Like, I'm a criminal. I can sell this information." And she says, "I don't know. There's something in you that is akin to me." It's like they're both little street rats who've learned to survive.
Yeah, right.
And the other thing I love about her is that she is a sarcastic kind of, I don't like the word feisty, but I mean, I don't mind it, but I don't like it for her, but I can't think of something else.
Her
But
name is Faiza.
that's true. But she isn't, I don't know, I've gotten very bored with the angry female characters that are just a little two-dimensional. Like they have a
The
biting
anti
tongue,
female
and
in
they're,
distress.
yeah, and it's just that's all they are. Fiza is, even though you don't get to have too much interaction with her, like that we haven't gone in depth with her yet, but even just the interactions that we have had, you see that there is depth to her.
She's not overly hopeful, but she obviously has hope. She's pragmatic enough to ask Nari, like, is he dangerous? And
Hmm.
you know that if Nari was to be like, I think he might be, she'd probably just kill him right on the spot.
Or leave,
You know,
you
but
know.
she also or leave, but she also had enough whimsy in her to be like, you know what? Sure, let's try it. Let's try this crazy escape plan. I don't think whimsy was the right word to use there, but
I liked it. She also, I as you were talking, I realized this. She has been brought up in pretty much slavery and has been abused and controlled, and now she's got the iron in her neck, and she doesn't become Meniza. That's another parallel where you have a woman who has not had, her desperate uh, gamble for freedom was to be enslaved on a pirate ship for 10 years because it had an end date. Whereas in Davabad, she would have been, this slave class forever. And so you see someone who does have an edge to her, but, and can kill. She is dangerous. But she's not a mass murderer. She still has a moral code. She might be a pirate, but she's not going around killing kids.
Yeah, which kind of it like helps it set up because we've seen all this along the way, but it also helps solidify that when Ollie's talking to his mom, he says the best thing I did for the Shafit was get out of their way. Like
Hmm.
trying to help them by whatever he did before. Nothing was really good until he just let them be and just, maybe allowed them to be without being attacked every 5 seconds. Um, Real quick, did you hear anything in the background?
I don't think so.
How about now?
Mm-mm.
All right, sorry. Just want to make sure. So, also, not to make her into the anti damsel in distress, but it's kind of like, the Shafit, they don't need the Devas and the Jinn to rescue them. They just need to stop being attacked by them.
Right.
Which brings me to my next question / point. And I think this is a little bit the brainwashing of all the books I grew up with. In that same conversation where Ali's talking to Hatset, he says that he doesn't think Daevabad needs a ruler. He wants to have like a democracy. And I'm like, boo, overthrow her, be the ruler. You and Nahri can rule. I don't want a committee. Like, it just sounds so like boring.
You know what? I think it's because in today's day and age, we have um, a bureaucratic government to where you're like, well, that doesn't go well. At least if
Yeah,
you're good, we know you're good. You could be a good ruler. We know good rulers
right.
exist, and
A
they make good
benevolent
choices.
tyrant. That's all, anybody wants in a fantasy book.
However, they do have a point by saying that both the Katani and the Nahids have lost their right to rule because of everything that had happened. Granted,
Mm,
again, you are not your ancestors. Nahri and Ali didn't do those things. Could Nahri and Ali be great rulers? I think so. Granted, I don't think they either of them want to be. Like Nahri said, the only thing she wanted to rule over was her hospital.
somebody's got to rule. Somebody's got to make a choice. Somebody has to lead.
Well, if you have a representative from each of the tribes, and they're the
Ugh,
council, and they rule.
ugh, fine. Fine. But what I will say to this series, I also wouldn't have thought I'd be interested in a series where the two main characters, and I'm speaking about, I know you could say Dara's a main character, but speaking about Nahri and Ali, like Ali loves government and math and forms and budgets, and Nahri is a healer. That's not a concept that I would have thought would draw me in, but I am deeply enjoying this series. So I think that if anyone can pull it off, it's this series.
as as we said with what is Chakraborty doing to us? She's very good at putting these characters into high stake moments that either they have to use their talents of healing and uh, engineering, or there is the, which this happens with many of the characters, the arc of redemption and realization, and what you were saying with deepening of, like when Ali uses his martial abilities when he's fighting just purely out of self-defense, like Nahri is standing there witnessing it and not taking these lives and these deaths lightly, which is something also I don't think we often see in books where, like, well, clearly this guy's the bad guy and he's trying to kill me, so I kill him, we move on. And maybe with the first one, we might react because it's the first time you've killed someone. But,
Hmm.
Ollie's killed multiple people now and Nari's seen it. And, when the pirates attack them and Ollie goes full into his, expert warrior training and kills many of them, Nari has a moment where she just wants to yell at the pirate to go back over the wall, get away.
Yeah.
And it's because, she still values life and has a reverence for life, even if that life is trying to kill her.
Yeah.
And that, Dara is even a bigger realization redemption arc, because he's done much worse. So it takes him longer to allow himself to admit that, doing evil so that good may come is not a good way to live, and
Hmm.
that you still have to pay for those crimes.
There's no like in for a penny, in for a pound. I might as well keep going. It's like, no, you got to start doing the right thing.
Hmm. Which is where Maniza did go in for a penny, in for a pound. Like, well, I've killed my brother, I might as well just kill everybody.
Just gonna go for it.
Which is, the scenes with her and Kaveh just feel so weird to me, because I'm like, can she actually feel genuine love? I don't know.
It's
Like,
really weird.
it just feels
Really,
weird.
really weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
like
don't
the
like it.
the part where Kaveh's like comforting her and saying that they'll find you could when she gets so angry when Niza finds out that Hatset has Jamshed, and she's just
Hmm.
raging and saying how she'll kill her children, and awful things like that. And he's comforting her and just saying, we'll all be together, as if like they could just come back together and be like this nice happy family. And he's not talking to a woman who's raging and talking about killing another woman's children, and
Right. Who, and
she
like,
had you murder thousands of people, and like,
right. And
oh,
he
we'll be a
doesn't
nice
know that
family.
yet, right? Like, he doesn't know that she knew the poison wouldn't stop.
He has allowed himself to believe that she didn't
Right.
know. Yeah. There's a moment right before Montadir's coup when
Hmm.
um, Kaveh Montadir says something insulting to Kaveh, and Kaveh's like, oh, I lost respect for you, or I lost respect for Montadir's opinion of me 6 years ago. And he says to Montadir, like, 6 years ago when you didn't save my son, when he like risked, almost died saving your life. And it's like, okay, you're still holding on to that and thinking him so weak because he didn't save your son. And how could you love someone and let him suffer like that? I mean, you just killed 1,000 or more people, and many of them
And
innocent
his
travelers,
dad,
and
like,
his dad. So
yeah, and
it's like
children.
there's so much of this where I'm like, Kaveh, you don't
There
have
is
a
like
leg
a
to stand on. You
No,
literally,
there's quite a few times in this book where people are like getting real high and mighty, and you're like, for
yeah,
example, Jamshed too, admitting to Ali he was the one who poisoned him, and you're like,
yeah,
okay, you are mad at him for having you kill someone who is attempting to murder him.
yeah.
Meanwhile,
Who may
you
be dead.
attempted to murder him,
Right. Yeah. It's like, okay,
and you
someone,
want him to just be fine with that.
and you already know, like, Nari told you before that, the man was a Shafit, and if the king found out that a Shafit had tried to
He's
kill
gonna,
his
yeah.
beloved son, so he was actually saving many lives. And yeah, this guy just tried to kill him. Like, yes, it's a horrible moment, but it, now you're willing to kill him because of that, and you'll still
Murder
be
him.
angry at him about it. Yeah.
And by the way, like, I don't think Muntadir would have forgiven you either.
Right.
Like, what were you thinking? And why? Anyway, so yes, a couple times where
Yeah.
people are like, and you did this, and you're like, and
And
you
yeah,
also did things.
Dara does it a few times where it's always when someone that he thinks he's been befriending. He does it with the Gaziri soldiers, and then again he says something to Montadir, I think, too, or he gets mad at Montadir for something, and he's like,
He's like, you know what they did to my sister, and I'm like, but he didn't do it. Again, 1,400 years ago, someone did it.
and Maniza always finds a way to manipulate him back into her clutches, except for
I know.
this last time. But
Yes.
yeah, because when she uses the memory of his sister as a point in threatening
Like, would you
Montadir,
have Then
And
he's like,
he's like
"You
so
bet your
upset
ass I
about
would
it.
have." And
Yeah,
she's like,
yeah. He's like, I would
"What did
let
you
every
want
single
him to
Nahri
say?"
die if I could save my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and she's all upset about it. So you haven't gotten to the Montadier's coup and the aftermath.
No, sorry.
I read it right before I went to sleep last night. It was a mistake. But
Mm.
I just was going to sleep imagining like maybe Dara could just rescue Montadier and they could leave. Like, because finally Dara has lost all faith in her and it seems like it's
Mm-hmm.
too late because of this final almost dying and being brought back. Dying and being brought back. He's brought back in a different way, and the poison, the iron fillings are still in him, so he can't use his magic. And it's very it's very spotty. He's very weak, and so we're pretty sure he can't turn into the wind now.
Ugh,
And uh,
should have done it.
and he's just completely broken at looking at what Manise has done. And then Montadier is brought in, and I'm just thinking, oh no, he's gonna think Dara was a part of this horrible thing.
Mm.
And I just want him to say, like, this is actually the first massacre that I have not been a part of.
I had nothing to do
I
with
had
this one.
nothing to do with it. And she is evil. Let's go.
So, on that note, what was your spark of the week?
Oof. I don't know if it's cheating, but my spark of the week are my nephews who are just so funny.
That's not cheating.
Watching them. Yeah, they're just hilarious. Little kids.
Yeah, shout
They're
out to our nephews. Those
yeah.
guys are awesome.
They're just so original and hilarious. Like little kids aren't trying to be original and unique. They just
Mm-hmm.
are. Every single one of them. You never
Mm-hmm.
know what they're gonna say. All right, how about you? What is yours?
I'm gonna ditto yours.
Ow.
Well, let's just make this one a big shout out to them
Okay.
and their awesome parents.
Yeah. You guys did good.
If you're following along with the books we read and liking our taste in books, and you're looking for something with intrigue and found magic and found family and depth, then you are going to love it when you sign up for Mary's Kickstarter to read her up and coming debut novel, Breaking Inlands.
Yeah, thanks. The link is down below.
You're welcome. If you're not sure and you want to dabble your toes in, she also has a short story that is in the same world that you can read and be like, do I like this author? Yes, I do.
Well, thank you. And
You're welcome.
as always, we are so grateful to be spiraling through this universe with all of you. It's not always easy, but no good story ever is.